All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. Welcome to another episode. So excited to be here with my partner, Justin.
Yeah, awesome.
And an amazing guest today.
Yes.
Right?
Can't wait.
And I'm going to let her introduce herself because she is part of Wildwood Foundations in Albany. It's a nonprofit. They do a lot of good work in the area, and she's got a lot of talent. She's actually on a board with AFP. I'll let her explain what that is as well, but we'll go from there. Nicole, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. I'm Nicole Babie. As you mentioned, I'm the Director of Foundation at Wildwood Foundation, and we are an impact organization that supports people with developmental disabilities and autism throughout the Capital Region. And our mission specifically, we support Wildwood Programs, which is the program side, which has not only a school, which is for ages 5 through 21, but we also have residential programs, day programs, rec programs,
Wow,
respite.
so all inclusive.
All the things. So definitely.
Centered solely around autism or other developmental issues, things along that lines?
Yeah, the whole spectrum. So developmental disabilities and autism. So it's kind of a whole umbrella of individuals that we support with a variety of needs and abilities. So we have an employment program that's really great. So we have about 300 individuals who are employed throughout the Capital Region, and they have job coaches. And I know a lot of us always think of that as individuals that we see in the grocery stores, but they do a variety of jobs. It could be, we have people who work in dental offices, and they're the ones that are packing up all the dental hygiene kits.
So you help with the training, you help with the resourcing for employers that are looking to hire. Exactly. Okay. Now, the other thing that too intrigued me from our coffee that we had a couple weeks ago was that you also sit on a board for fundraising professionals.
Correct.
To kind of help with their education. You want to talk a little bit about that? It's a long title.
I'll handle it.
Okay.
So that is the Association of Fundraising Professionals New York Hudson Mohawk chapter. It's an international organization, but our local chapter basically is the footprint from north of Hudson out to Oneonta, all the way to the top of the state, and then a little bit of Vermont and a little bit of Massachusetts. So that organization, it's a big area. It's really meant to support our fundraisers in that region, to give them professional development, really give them a community. It's a great way for fundraisers to find other people who understand the job that they do. And as someone who has now become a professional fundraiser, even though no one goes into that job initially, it's been really interesting and fun for me to not only create that sense of community in the Capital Region, but also be able to kind of foster the next generation of fundraisers that are coming in never knowing how to do this job.
And that's one of the main reasons, along with potential partnership with Wildwood, and as our listeners know, we do a lot of community activities. So we're always excited when we have partnerships with new nonprofits and in the area. And ultimately, I think what spurred our conversation on what was the lack of training for fundraising professionals from the finance side of creative ways that you can give. And I thought that would be a good conversation today, that we get into that and promote Wildwood a little bit so our listeners can understand about an amazing organization in the Capital Region. But I know, Justin and I deal with it all the time, is we present content and concepts to clients that do philanthropy and do giving, but it kind of goes over their head without the proper explanation of what it is.
Yeah. And it creates sometimes barriers of people actually going and doing donations, because they're not understanding how it works, how they can get different benefits of helping these organizations, and also just the most effective way to be able to do so, and what types of things they could actually use to potentially even leverage their donations to a higher level.
Yeah, and let's face it, people give what they know.
Yep.
And if they don't know charitable concepts, they're just going to give cash, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just going to give cash.
Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of the creative process is more of a benefit to the organizations like yourself. And one of the ways that a client can give is through irrevocable life insurance trusts, where the organization is the owner and the organization is the beneficiary. They get to write off the premium going in, but you guys like that, right? Because you get a large lump sum.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, of course, cash is so beneficial, but that's just not realistic for every person. So getting creative, thinking outside the box of what can you do now, and also what can you do to leave a legacy after you pass. Those are kind of the two areas that I find the most interesting when I'm working with donors. And of course, as you said, I'm not trained in this. I'm not a professional, but I've done a lot of homework and a lot of research. And then I have people like you that I can send them to, or they can go to whoever their financial planners are, to really figure out what makes the most sense for their day to day, but also that does give them that dopamine hit of giving and feeling like they're involved in this cause. And really, on my end, how do I create that sense of community and belonging for the donors, so that it's not just here's your thank you letter that looks just like a tax receipt and bye-bye, thank you.
Yeah, and that's got to be a point of fear, I think. I mean, you talk about it, but a point of fear from the nonprofit side of having maybe some of their top donors pass away, right? And then maybe not a tie to the children, right? I mean, like, how much does that run through your organization's mind of, like, the top guy giving passes away tomorrow in a car accident or to old age, and then all of a sudden that's like maybe a large part of your giving?
Yeah, it's definitely something I think any good fundraiser really considers. And again, it's how do we make the next generation feel strongly about our mission while their parents are here, or while their grandparents are here? How does that all look? And just being a lifeline between generations.
Yeah.
For a common cause, I know that specifically at Wildwood, it's been really great because we were founded 58 years ago by families who were lacking things within the school district for their children specifically.
Yeah, delve into that a little bit. You were telling me there was an organization of parents that came together.
Yeah, very grassroots founding for Wildwood. So these families, they banded together, they saw a need, they found a teacher, and they started Wildwood that way 58 years ago. And Wildwood's trajectory has really gone with those kids. So, they're in school, they have the school. Then they are now adults. What does that look like now? They need day programs to go to. They need residential programs to go to. We have 40 residences and 50 supported apartments. So depending on a person's want and ability is kind of how they can get placed in those things. So what does that look like? Like, what does this life look like for them? And now we're getting to a point, they've been in the program, some of them for 58 years. We have residents that are in their 90s. Something that hasn't happened a lot because so many people with disabilities were institutionalized for so long. They didn't make it to old age. Now they are. So what does this look like for them? What does retirement look like for these individuals? So all of these questions that are new to the field that people haven't had to think that much about, we're kind of diving into now. And like, what does aging look like for our individuals, but also for those family members who have trusted Wildwood for so long and will continue to trust Wildwood to take care of their children after they're gone. So I think for us, it's been a really interesting situation. 58 years, some of these families, they are passing on at a quicker rate than we've ever seen before.
Was that an evolution of growth for Wildwood? Was that the original families just started as teaching, but then as they saw their children progress through, they added the other services that they needed throughout? Is that how it evolved?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in 2022, Wildwood merged with ALG, which was located in Schenectady. So our footprint grew a lot too, and the types of programs that we offer evolved. So I think that it's ever-changing. It's an ever-changing field, but Wildwood really, one of our pillars is holism. So it's taking a look at the entire person, not just what they're diagnosed with, really trying to dive into what's best for them, what what classes do they want to take? What adventures do they want to go on? They get vacations. What do they need within their own homes to live their best life? Because that's our priority. That's our job, is to make sure that that's happening for them.
And there's all different levels on the spectrum too, like you were saying, so some high functioning can have their own investment accounts and have their goals and work with an advisor, and then some need some type of trustee service, right, to be able to do that, or guardian or overseer that can help guide and make sure that the funds are being allocated right. Or may not even be in their name for social services and for what they need, because sometimes you don't want money going to a child or a young adult, because it'll remove some of the social services based on their income.
I was just going to say that finances become really tricky with our individuals, making sure that they stay within the thresholds that the state has kind of set in place. But we do at Wildwood, we have a supplemental needs trust that some of the families take advantage of, and it's a great way for, I think, those parents or family members to take a proactive approach to making sure that their child, sibling, niece, nephew, whatever it may be, that they can get what they need. They need their car fixed, they need little things, whatever those things are that the Supplemental Needs Trust lays out as approved items, that they can do those. And I think a common misconception, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I've been with Wildwood for almost 12 months. It'll be 12 months in November. So I'm still kind of learning that whole area too. Again, as I was saying, finance is not the field that I came from. So learning all about supplemental needs trusts. But I think a lot of the common misconceptions that I've come across as I'm talking to family members about it is that they think that they need to die in order for their children to utilize a supplemental needs trust. And I'm like, no. You can put in the money now, as much money, like we obviously have thresholds and things, but like you can put in as much as you want now for them to utilize while you're here, but it's also a safeguard for when you're not.
Yeah, and those are all things that we can steer clients towards based on their situation, right? We started with irrevocable life insurance trusts, which typically pay out when a parent passes away or whoever's doing it, to either a trust or an organization, right, to help fund it. But other things that they can do are donor advised funds, which we work with very heavily. And I think some of the most common misconceptions that people don't realize they can do what are called charitable gift annuities. In which case, in layman's terms, is you're gifting the money now to the organization, and they're buying a pension on you as the donor, and the money is coming back to you as retirement income. Like a lot of people, I think, don't give in retirement because they don't, because they're concerned about their own financial well-being in retirement. But some of those charitable gift annuities and concepts can pay a pension back from the nonprofit they want to benefit. They get a percentage that they can then run with and do their good works, and the person's sound for retirement because they now have retirement income secure. Yeah. Right? And those are some great... It's
a great multifaceted tool to be able to do two great things.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Here's our retirement income planning specialist. I mean, how nice is it to have a guaranteed income source coming in?
It's besides Social Security, a lot of times it's pretty rare unless you're working for the state or something like that, but...
Yeah, so I mean, important concept that our listeners understand is you could donate $200,000 or $300,000 to a nonprofit in your golden years where you're concerned about income, solidify your income, have enough coming in to handle your needs and wants, be more aggressive with your investments, and at the same time have a percentage of it go to an organization to better a cause that you're near and dear to, get a tax write-off, obviously. So a lot of major benefits just in charitable gift annuities alone. How do you find, in working with the Mohawk Hudson, the long lengthy title, right? So the Association of Financial Professionals, like fundraising professionals, right? How much do you find that the fundraising professionals comprehend these strategies? Because I find some do, some don't. Some do, but they don't know how to implement it. And then there's the very few that know about it, what it is, and how to implement it, and then how to prospect a donor on it. Do you find that to be the case?
I do find that to be the case. And I think it's a lot of education on our sector's part. I was just at a conference this past week for the Association of Fundraising Professionals, and specifically went to sessions that dealt with this. But obviously there's people in the fundraising profession that get it and understand the value of varying where your gifts are coming from. There's some people who want to understand it, but it's a struggle. And so they kind of just know to
Do the cash. Ask for the cash.
yeah, we'll do the cash.
do
And
the cash
then
route.
if you have questions, I'm going to tell you to go see your advisor.
Yeah.
And then there are some professionals who just focus on the cash and that's it. They don't want to have to learn all these other terms. It's
Sure.
a lot of terminology, a lot of
Sometimes lawyers involved, your CPA involved.
and some of the terms are like similar. So figuring out like charitable remainder trusts versus
charitable gift annuity.
yeah, like you have where you're like, okay, what's the difference between these? So I think it's challenging for fundraisers who their time is spent fundraising. That is their priority every day, is to make sure that the events they're planning are having a high return, that they're right now we're all in annual fund mode because we want to ask people for gifts before the end of the calendar year. So prioritizing learning those other areas is a challenge, and one that is partly why I joined the board of AFP for our local chapter, because I know how much I struggled just to learn the language of fundraising, because that also has a lot of terminology.
Well, even the fundraisers are called development coordinators, right? So like you even make it more complicated to identify the role, right?
Yes.
The director of development,
Yeah.
right? Well, for me as an average person or a listener, I would not think that that's the fundraising person for an organization.
I would not either.
Exactly.
I don't think I'm not a genius, but I don't think I think I'm above the average of being able to understand things, and I probably would
Who's
not be
your
able to
fundraiser
get that.
coordinator?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the director of development. You got to go talk to them over there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, there's so much jargon in fundraising. There's so much jargon in finance. So my goal has kind of been like, how do we educate our fundraisers? How do we make it clear for our donors? We do a newsletter every year. So I just put that out, and I talked all about the differences in these different things and different ways to give and planned giving. And I talked about our monthly giving program that we just launched. So it was like, I wanted to give everybody basically a menu of options that they can give. You can give in all these ways, but if you want to just give $10 a month, that's great too. Like, that is a great way to support. And it's good for younger generations who maybe don't have as much disposable income. It's good for the retired generations who are much more focused in on how much they have every month. But then being able to say, yes, there's this, but there's also so much more. There's so many other ways that you can support in a way that's meaningful to you. So what does that look like? And then go talk to your financial advisor or your lawyer.
For us too, coming off a good stock year, mutual fund year, knowing that there's probably going to be some capital gains at the end of the year, it's a good time of year to encourage clients to start looking at some charitable giving before December 31st, so they can get that tax write-off to maybe offset some of their gains and stuff, right? And there's some planning concepts with RMDs. Maybe Justin, you want to talk about that? That can kind of mitigate some required minimum distributions by charitable giving.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that people have the options to do, especially in that area. But I think just going off of what you said, Nicole, and a lot of people, you don't, I always say this a lot, but you don't know what you don't know. So obviously looking at potentially doing, you can do conversions to mitigate and lower your traditional dollars that you have that are going to be subject to your RMDs, to try and get that into more of a more tax advantaged type of scenario by using Roth funding, and then just being able to create strategies to maybe draw down or use some of those assets, pay the taxes, and then use that money to then donate and give to the charity in a little bit of a roundabout way,
or even assign it directly to the charity.
Correct. Yep.
And you take that RMD, assign it directly to the charity. Yep. It's not showing at all on your income.
Correct.
So for a lot of our clients who have the higher pensions and Social Securities, that are always asking us, right? Hey, what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need it. What do I do with it?
I don't want it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't want to pay the taxes on it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, put it into your gifting strategy.
Sure.
Save some money on your taxes so you get, pay less or get more back. And I'm sure any organization like Wildwood would be more than happy to be the recipient.
So happy. We will gladly take the money that you don't want to get taxed on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's an ideal situation. Really, it's a win-win. Like, people want to give, but I feel like most people don't grow up in a household where philanthropy is talked about a lot. Yeah, their parents might make a donation here or there to, like, the Red Cross or the American Cancer Association or something like any of, like, the big organizations. But what are the ones that are in your backyard where your dollars go so far? Like, they just make such an impact when you're able to support your local impact organizations. And what's meaningful to you? I'm always amazed when people...
There's a lot of charity hoppers.
There are.
They do like one thing one year and then another thing another year.
And you know what? I always encourage people, make a small gift first. See how they thank you. See how they steward you after the fact. Because if you want to have that kind of relationship with an impact organization, that's the way to do it. You got to test them out. You're dating them just as much as they want to be dating you too. So what does that look like? So if you want to make a big gift, but you want to make a $25 gift to start, that's great. Because then at least they'll hopefully have a database that they can put you into. So then when you do make a bigger gift, I'm sure that they're probably going to want to know why, and at least kind of have that conversation. And maybe it is. I always kind of think of these. Some people, they just want to give, and that's great. Like, as I already said, cash is king in our world. Like, if you just want to donate and that's the extent of it, that's fine. But some people, they do want to learn more about your organization. They do want to come to an event. They want to join a committee. They want to volunteer. They want to join the board. There's so many opportunities to not only invest your money, but also invest your time into an organization that means so much. And like I said, for those smaller local organizations, that's huge. Like, having reliable volunteers.
I think you touched on all the gradients of donor base, right? You got the one-time giver, you've got the one-time giver just because of tax write-off, right?
Yep.
You've got the one-time giver because there was an emotional ask, right? And then you've got the serial giver, like, hey, I'm going to sign up for $20 a month or whatever because it's convenient. And then you've got the people with the meaning to the organization. There may be a family tie, or a family member went through that organization or used that organization's services. So there's, I'm going to continue on with this giving for my life, right? And then you take it to the next spectrum, is I'm going to give, but now I'm going to give of my time
and
too.
Get involved,
right? And I'm going to get in the trenches and understand. And then even past that is now I'm going to join the organization while I'm giving and stuff. And no matter what level you're at, it's a benefit to the organization, right? And I think listeners, need to identify, where are they in that spectrum, right? Look, we encourage everybody to partner or do some type of nonprofit work, right? And it's totally preference. Like, you don't have to, but if you're going to do that, maybe do a little bit of each. Like, to your point, do a little bit of each. Do a little bit of random giving at first. Find an organization that's near and dear to your heart. Maybe has some family ties. If your family, has used, your services. Obviously, they're going to be more emotionally linked to Wildwood than if somebody said, hey, you know what, my family had heart disease, and American Heart Association is my organization. Whatever that organization is, then you can find that passion. And then, if a listener wants to check out Wildwood, they want to see what services you provide, or maybe do some volunteer or giving, where can they find you? Like, what's the best route to find you, connect, and donate?
So our website is wildwoodprograms.org. So that's always a good place to get started. You can find out a little bit of everything about all of our programs, about the school, about the foundation. And you can contact us straight through the website, which is always easy. If anybody wants to contact me at the foundation, it's my first initial, N for Nicole, and then my last name, Babie, B-A-B-I-E, looks like babies without an S, at wildwoodprograms.org. So both of those are great ways to kind of get involved, learn more, make a donation. Join if you want to donate to our monthly giving program. That's all on there too. It's called The Grove, so you can find that there. But really, whatever I encourage, as I put on my AFP hat as a board member, I encourage everybody just to get involved somewhere, because like you were saying, it's figure out where you're at in that spectrum now, but also where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm a young professional, 2 young kids. I still find time to serve on a board. I've been on this board for 7 years and I've really dedicated myself to that. I have worked in the impact sector for over a decade now, and I know how I want to be as a philanthropist when I'm older and have more time and energy and hopefully disposable income at that. More disposable income, and I'm not paying for daycare.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Well, then you have a lot of disposable income when daycare's done.
cannot wait. I'm ready for that. but it's really the kind of thing that I think it's great to know where you are now, but it's also really beneficial to know where do you want to be. What would you like your life to look like in 5, 10, 20 years? And what's kind of the path that will help you get there too, because you do need to think about your finances now, even though I obviously pay for daycare and all the things and don't have a boatload of disposable income, but I know I give myself basically like an allowance for the year of what I want to donate, and try to kind of stay within those numbers.
Yeah, perfect budgeting.
Yeah, and like one thing we didn't talk about, like itemizing and all of those kind of things, but with the One Big Beautiful Bill, how that's kind of changed giving, that'll be we'll do another segment on all of that. But it's just something that I think people can be talking to their advisors now about any extra giving they need to be doing at the end of this year for tax benefits, but also what does it look like going forward too. So I think everybody's a philanthropist at heart. I think that when push comes to shove, if we see a GoFundMe for someone who we really care about, we're all giving. We all feel compelled to do that. So what does philanthropy mean to you?
Yeah. And I think it's important that, a lot of people understand that not every advisor is versed in giving either. They don't necessarily have the tools or the education for, good philanthropy. Right. So if you're a listener out there, maybe you're not a client and you have an advisor, but you want to get a little bit more in-depth options on your philanthropy and stuff, reach out to Iron Tree Financial. You can email us at irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. You can find us at irontreefinancial.com itself. As always, we're on Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. We're everywhere. We're just everywhere.
Instagram.
Yeah. You can always pick up the old telly and call us at 800-222-3202. And as always, it's your time,
your money.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Time, Your Money. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share this with friends, family, coworkers, anyone else that you think might be interested. If you do have questions or topics, you can always email them to irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. Please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, Google Play, and many other sources that were available. And you can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And as always, it's your time and your money. Cetera Investors is the marketing name of Cetera Investment Services. Securities and insurance products are offered through Cetera Investment Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.